Right, just before the lecture starts, a quick update or a quick note, right? Remember to always comment out the print lines in the previous episodes so that your output doesn't get cluttered. Just making sure to remind you of that. And off to the lecture. Alright, welcome back to the Roblox course, and in this lecture we're going to talk about instance.new. What is instance.new? Well, how can we create new objects via scripts? This is exactly how. So once again, we're going to create a new script called, this is going to be new objects. And of course, like always, the nice heading over here, creating new objects with instance.new. And we're just going to dive right in. So we're going to make a new part. This is going to be a local new part, and this is going to be equal to instance.new. Now, inside of there, as you can see, we want a string, which is going to be the name of the class. So here we actually get a whole bunch of things already suggested to us. Now we're going to choose part, and we're going to look at the rest of the list soon enough. But this simply then creates a new part, right? Now, if that's that's great, right? Let's run this. Let's see where is it, right? So new part. Well, first of all, we don't want to run this. We actually want to, play this. It doesn't really matter, but in this case, let's play it. Let's see. Well, we have the position part, the convey. Where is it? Where is it? Well, once again, when we think back to when we cloned the one part, we needed to set the parent, and this is something that we need to do here as well. So we actually need to set the parent to game.workspace. Now we can already set the parent in here as well. So as you can see, this is also an instance, and we can just set the parent inside of the instance.new as well. It really doesn't matter in that sense where you do it. So if we then look at this, then here we actually have the new part down here called part. It's here. So, for example, we can then say, well, let's give this part a new name. So let's call it a new part, for example. Just, or, all written together. It doesn't really matter. Let's just call it a new part. And then we can also position it somewhere else. So, for example, we will position it at vector3.new. And let's say 0, 5, 0. So we're going to actually put it 5 units up. And we're also going to anchor it so that it doesn't fall down. And this we're going to set to true, because anchor is a Boolean type value, and we can set this to true. And then we should land on it as well. There we go. So we actually landed on it. And can we make that jump? We actually can. Let's go. Nice. Right. So anyway, so this is the part. And we have now created a new part. We can actually see this is called a new part. So the name has also changed. So that's pretty nice. Right? That's pretty cool. Now, there's one thing that I want to mention, and this is usually something that is not as big of a deal as I might make it out to be, but it is kind of important. So the order is important, right? Because what happens is if we create a new part 2, let's say, and we're going to do instance.new, and this is going to be a part, right? Then basically what we should do is we should create it. Then we should change properties, right? So properties. And then we should set parent, right? And the idea is that if we change the properties before we set the parent, then we have, this is a little bit optimized for the processing, let's say. Because as soon as the parent is the workspace, it has to be rendered and all of that. Let's keep it as simple as possible. However, it is a little bit better. At least this is the conventional wisdom. Let's say vector3 new. Let's set this to 0, 15, 0 this time. And then once again, new part 2.anchored is true. Right. And then we can set the parent to new part 2.parent equals to game.workspace. Now we can also, by the way, do only workspace. This also works. I prefer just writing game.workspace it is functionally exactly the same. So if we do this, then we can see we've created another part right here above it. And yeah. Now, of course, like I said, we're not going to really notice it. And usually it's not that big of a deal. However, I did want to mention it just in case, because it's, it's something that should be in your mind, maybe at the back, but it should still, you should at least should have heard about it. And now coming back to this, so the part here, right? So when we do this, we can actually see that there are a ton of different things that we could possibly create an instance of, right? So there's a lot of them. Going back up here to view and then the object browser, it is exactly the things that we have here that we can create, basically. I believe that there are a few more in here. A few more in here. So for example, actor. I don't think that an actor is in here. Yeah, right. So there are a few things that are not in the object browser that can actually be created, and I do believe that there are some things in the object browser that also can't be created, but usually all of those things can be created through instance.new. Now we've only seen the part, and this is also something that is, well, most likely what you're going to create in this case. Yeah, so however, if you want to, try out a few other things, especially once we go through some of the other objects possibly and see how they work, then it's possible that you want to try out a few different things with the other instances and just create a few of those. Yeah. So that's basically how you can create a new instance of a class, in this case a part. There's one more little detail I want to mention, and that is if we create these parts with instance.new, as you can see, they have the studs on them. And if we then say, for example, a new part, if we select this, we can see down in the properties, we actually have the surface and the surface inputs as possible properties as well. This is the same that we have seen with the base plate. And if we, look at our normal part, we don't have this. This is because we have not set any surface in the model. So if we go to the surface, we could, for example, say, smooth, nothing happens. If we say surface glue, then we can actually glue it on something. So we can actually say, oh, this is a glue. Or we can say studs, for example, and then studs at the top. And then, as you can see, we also have studs, and then the surface inputs and the surface properties appear down in the properties window. This is, of course, because if you don't have a surface, then you don't need those properties, and this is why they are not there. I just wanted to mention that if they are, because there might be some confusion there. I hope that clears that up. Right, so that is it for creating new objects, especially new parts. Right, I hope that that was informative for you. And like always, if there are any questions, feel free to ask. I'll be sure to respond. And yeah.